After I got laid off, I asked if I could stay with my parents for just 1 month. My dad laughed in my face and said, "You're 33, jobless, and still pathetic. This isn't a homeless shelter." My mom just said, "We raised you, not your problems." A week later, they welcomed my younger brother and his fiancée into my old room, rent-free. I just nodded and said, "Thanks for the clarity." 6 months later, I made a decision they didn't see coming. Now they're begging, "Please, don't cut us off." You always find a way to make everything about you, Sam. Dad didn't even bother to look at me when he said it. He just kept adjusting the TV volume like I was background noise. "No," I said, voice calm but trembling beneath the surface. "You just used my name on a loan and tore apart my room like I died or something." Caleb avoided eye contact. Classic. His fiancée sipped from a mug that still had my initials etched into the side. My old bed, my old shelves, now dressed in lavender throws and soft lighting. It felt like walking into a graveyard where no one had the decency to put up a headstone. "Sam, not this again," Mom muttered, knitting needles tapping against each other like she was keeping time on how fast she could tune me out. "You didn't even call me, not when the layoff happened, not when you cleared out my room, and definitely not when the bank notice showed up with my name on it." Dad finally looked at me, cold, unbothered. "You're 33, broke, living off excuses. We're not running a shelter here." "We raised you," Mom said without pausing her rhythm. "Not your messes." And there it was, the line that had been tattooed on my spine for years. I looked around the room at the pieces of me erased without thought and whispered, "Thanks for the clarity. My name's Samir Patel. But nobody's called me that in this house since I turned 12. Just Sam. Easier to spit out, I guess. I'm 33 years old. Recently laid off from a job I gave 6.5 years of my life to. Middle management, supply chain operations, nothing glamorous. I didn't expect balloons when I left, but I didn't expect silence either. I thought I had a fallback plan, family, a couch, maybe a warm meal. Instead, I got sarcasm, locked doors, and a bank email about a $14,000 personal loan. I never took out, but apparently did co-sign for. I hadn't been back here in years. Now I wish I never returned. Dad, Raj, 61. Ex-military, emotionally unavailable, treats responsibility like a scoreboard. Thinks feelings are distractions, says things like, "You've got 10 fingers and a spine. That's enough." Mom, Anita, 59. The quiet executor. Does Dad's emotional labor without questioning it. Speaks more with disappointment than words. Always knitting, always silent when it counts. Caleb, 28. The golden child. Charming, slightly reckless, but always lands on his feet. Failed 2 startups, borrowed from everyone, and still got a room, a fiancé, and applause. Lila, Caleb's fiancé. Sweet on the surface, all smiles and soft-spoken jabs. Never worked a full-time job. Lives off vibes and Caleb's illusions of entrepreneurship. They moved into my room. A week after I asked if I could crash for a month. "You think we meant to ruin your credit?" Caleb finally piped up. "It was just easier. You had a better score, and you weren't using it." "Easier?" I repeated, the word like bile in my throat. "So you stole from me, comfortably." Dad stood up then, hands on his hips. "Watch your mouth. We don't use words like steal in this house." "No, you just do it and pretend it's love." Mom's knitting stopped, but still no one looked me in the eye. "What about the bank calls?" I asked, looking directly at Caleb. "You let them harass me for weeks. You didn't say a word. You just watched." I meant to tell you, he muttered. But you didn't. You always make things worse than they are, Dad snapped. No, I replied. You all just lie better than I do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something, but I didn't. I just stood there, swallowing every cracked word, because somewhere deep inside, I still wanted one of them to just see me. I remember the night Caleb totaled my car in college, drunk, crying, covered in blood that wasn't his. I told the cops I had been driving. It cost me my license, my scholarship, and a semester in a community college in a town that smelled like smoke and silence. Caleb went on to finish school, got his graduation party, his gift watch, his second and third chances. No one ever said thank you. They just acted like it was natural, like I was built to take the fall. I reached into my bag and placed a small black USB drive towel on the coffee table. What's that? Caleb asked, his voice thinning. It's everything, I said. Voicemails, loan forms, emails, the call recording from the bank manager saying Dad impersonated me to authorize the loan. Dad's face turned gray. Mom looked up. For once. I made a copy, I added, and sent it to a lawyer. If anything happens to me, it's all scheduled to go public. You wouldn't try me. Lila stood up. You told me this loan was clean. You told her? Mom asked, voice finally rising. You involved her? Everything began to unravel. Dad lunged for the flash drive. I was faster. Caleb swore. Lila screamed. Mom started crying. Not loud, but the kind that makes you feel like a stranger at your own funeral. You all finally hear me now? I asked, my voice low. Or do you need another file? No one answered. No one moved. Just the sound of Lila gathering her things. The first to leave. I didn't slam the door when I left, didn't yell, didn't turn back. 3 weeks later, I moved into a one-bedroom with peeling paint and honest light. Picked up part-time work, got a cat, started sleeping through the night again. The texts came slowly. You overreacted. Family fights. That doesn't mean you cut us out. Can we talk? Then finally, please, don't cut us off. I didn't respond. Not then. 6 months passed. I never sent the files to the lawyer, but I let them think I did. The power in silence is something I never understood before. It's louder than screaming. Yesterday I got a letter, handwritten, from Mom. The first real apology I've ever received. It didn't fix everything, but it acknowledged something. And that was enough for now. I texted back one line. I didn't burn the bridge, I just stopped watering it alone. And for once I didn't feel guilty walking away.